Hey guys, welcome back. I know I normally don't do a lot of sit-down chat videos, but after I posted my last video about moving from the US to Singapore, I received some DMs from people who are curious about how I managed to get a job in Singapore. So in this video, I'm just going to walk you guys through my experience applying for jobs and getting an offer in Singapore. But again, I'm mostly speaking from my personal experience, so do keep in mind that it may not be applicable to other scenarios. Before we start, let me share a little bit about my background. The job offer that I eventually accepted was from a pretty well-known company that's based in Singapore, where I'll be working on marketing partnerships and user growth. I am a fresh graduate from Northwestern University, which is in the US. I always thought that I would end up working in the US after graduation, but for some reason, I visited Singapore this April and I just really like the country, so I started applying for jobs in Singapore. Overall, the job search process was pretty stressful because I didn't have a lot of connections in Singapore, and as a foreigner who wasn't physically in Singapore at the moment, it was especially hard to find employment opportunities during COVID. So if you want to know exactly how long it took for me to get a job in Singapore, make sure to watch to the end. But now, let's get to the first step. The first thing I did during my job search was a lot of research, which I think is especially important for foreigners who don't know Singapore super well. I started off by using websites like Glassdoor to get an estimated salary for job titles that I was targeting, such as digital marketing specialist and marketing analyst, because it gave me a rough idea of what I should be expecting salary-wise. Then I looked into the pros and cons of working at a multinational company versus smaller startups, and working at an agency versus in-house marketing roles. After figuring out what I want from the job, it's also important to study the job market in Singapore. I read a lot of news articles that talked about jobs that are in high demand because you have to compete with locals and it is required by law to prioritize Singaporean citizens and PRs. Your profile will be much more competitive if you have certain highly specialized skills and expertise. For example, after I did my research, I realized that even within the field of marketing, there's actually a huge difference between different specializations when it comes to salary and competition. And a lot of people underestimate the importance of job research, but I just think it's such a necessary step because it allows you to apply for jobs more selectively and it saves you a ton of time. Then I started preparing documents that I need for my job application. The most important one is your resume for sure, and since I've done a lot of internships before, I had a pretty polished resume already. So I just added my most recent work experience, made some minor edits and changed the layout a little bit. As you can see in my resume, I included 3 work experiences that kind of focus on different aspects of digital marketing, so I look more well-rounded. And there's education, activities, skills/interests. Nothing super fancy, but I think it's straightforward and informative enough. Some companies will also ask you to submit a cover letter along with your application, but to be honest, I think it's quite time consuming for you to write up a cover letter for every single job application, and most recruiters don't even have the time to read it. Maybe it's just me being lazy, but I never include a cover letter in my application. What I did instead is include a link to my portfolio site, so if anyone is interested in my application, they can just click on the link and they'll be redirected to a website where they can see my writing, photography, videography, even design work in a highly visualized and interactive way. I personally think it's more effective than a cover letter and it's more convenient for me as well because all I have to do is just copy and paste the link in the application. When I had my resume and other materials ready to go, I just went on a couple websites to look for job openings. The most common job search websites in Singapore are LinkedIn, JobStreet, Indeed.com, and if you're a Singaporean citizen or PR, you can also use mycareersfuture.sg, which is a government initiative that's designed to help Singaporeans find jobs, but apparently I'm not Singaporean, so I mainly use LinkedIn for job search. Because from my experience, I feel like the job listings on LinkedIn seem much more legit compared to other websites, and when I come across a job opening that I'm interested in, I can just click on the company profile and see if I have any existing connections at that company, whether it's first or second or third. And because LinkedIn has such a powerful network, I can just reach out to my alumni or other people that I think will be helpful for my job application. Sometimes I also apply for jobs directly on the company's official website because it's updated frequently and I usually get a response from the HR no matter if they approve or reject my application. Although I tried other websites like JobStreet and Indeed, the majority of job openings here didn't quite meet my salary expectation, and I just feel like they're more tailored for locals or people who are already in Singapore. During the process, I set myself a personal goal that I have to apply for at least 5 jobs every day, and I use Google Sheets to keep track of all my job applications. I will highlight each application using a different color to indicate the status. For example, red is reject, yellow is interview, and green is offer extended. One thing that kind of confused me was that sometimes for an entry-level position in the job description, it would say 3+ years of experience required. Even though I've had quite a few internship experiences doing marketing in a variety of industries before, I wasn't sure if my internship experience would count, so I didn't know whether I should apply at all. But when I talked to the HR and my manager about it, I realized that it's usually not a non-negotiable requirement, especially if you have enough knowledge about the subject or if you've done similar internships before. Most likely, they will still consider you for that role, so don't be discouraged if you see job descriptions like that. Because, I mean, it doesn't make sense for an entry-level position to expect you to have like years of experience anyway. So just go ahead and give it a shot, since that's how I got my final job offer. I didn't receive my first interview invite until after I submitted like 20 job applications. Another reminder that job search is not an easy process. So I had an initial screening call with the HR who mainly asked me some behavioral questions. Then I was given a skills assessment test I had to complete online. After that, I had 4 more rounds of interviews with other members on the marketing team, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because literally during the last 2 interviews, I was like, I told you everything about me. Like, what else do you want to know? But I do appreciate the opportunity, so I still spend a lot of time preparing for commonly asked questions. So questions like, why do you want to join this company? What are you able to contribute? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Why do you want to come to Singapore? Stuff like that. The last question is especially important, I would say, and it's a tricky one because the company not only wants to gauge your interest in taking a job, but also in moving to a new country. They definitely want someone who can adapt to life in Singapore super well and stay here a longer time. Also, because I was in the US during the entire job search process, I had to work around my schedule and do the interviews around 10, 11 p.m. in Chicago, which is like 10 in the morning for them in Singapore. I think it's important for you to be flexible and be willing to accommodate the time zone differences as it reflects your professionalism and your interest in the job. Because of COVID, most interviews are done via Zoom, so technically you can use a cheat sheet. Basically, you just write down a summary of your past work experiences and answers to common interview questions, and this is actually what I did during my interviews. I would join a Zoom meeting and pull up a Google Doc in front of me, so it kind of helps me phrase my response. Overall, the turnaround was pretty quick and it didn't take that long. I did my first interview on April 22nd. I finished my last interview on May 17th. Several days later, I received my job offer. Then I just emailed other companies that offered me an interview and asked them to withdraw my application since I'm pretty satisfied with the job offer that I already had. After I received the job offer, I had to fill out an employment pass application form and submit a digital copy of my passport to the HR. They helped me apply for the EP, and it took around a week for my work visa application to be approved. After I received my in-principle approval letter, which basically functions as a valid work visa, my company helped me apply for an entry approval that is required for all foreigners who want to enter Singapore at the moment. At that point, I got almost everything I need and I was pretty much done with the entire job search process. So looking back, it took me roughly 3 months in total to land a job in Singapore. And yeah, that's how I managed to get a job in Singapore as a foreigner. I know COVID definitely slows down the hiring process, so it's important to be patient and just make use of all available resources, like reaching out to your LinkedIn connections and trying out different job search websites. I hope this video is helpful and answers some of your questions. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you have any other questions. And that's gonna be the end of this video. I will see you guys soon. Bye!